Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today's video is something different, something I've never done on my channel before. It is kind of a follow-up to a video that I posted probably about a month ago now. It was called Cruelty-Free is Complicated and I Don't Know What to Think Anymore. And I was just kind of talking about some of my frustrations that have been building up over the last year or so about the term cruelty-free, which by definition means that a brand is free of animal testing, basically. And I was kind of saying that I feel like it's a misleading term because it only covers one form of cruelty, which is animal cruelty, which to me is very important. I've always been a huge animal lover. All throughout my life, I've made efforts to reduce the amount of animal suffering that I've contributed to. It's the reason why I label myself a cruelty-free beauty consumer. It's the reason why I eat a vegan diet. It's the reason why I try to avoid things like leather and fur in my clothing items. It kind of covers a lot of areas of my life and it's very important to me. And it always will be. But what I was kind of saying, over the past year, I've been kind of realizing more and more that I want to be even a little bit more educated on other forms of cruelty in the beauty industry. Things like child labor, the way that brands treat their employees, environmental sustainability, all kinds of other things that I think contribute to how ethical a brand is, I think are equally important to them being animal cruelty free, but they don't get talked about nearly as much. So in this video, I am going to be talking about 5 very popular, very mainstream cruelty-free brands that are known to not test on animals, and we're going to kind of dig into some other factors, other types of cruelty, other things that may make them ethical or not. And those brands are e.l.f., NYX, Urban Decay, ColourPop, and CoverGirl. So 5 brands that I use on my channel all the time, brands that I really like, and yeah, we're gonna kind of dig in a little bit deeper. And I did want to give a shout out to a fellow beauty YouTuber, Hannah Louise Poston. She has done some, I think she calls them like brand ethics deep dives, where she does something similar. She has a spreadsheet where she kind of ranks the brands that she's bought from according to different aspects of their ethics. Things like sustainability, animal cruelty, whether the brand is independently owned, where it's manufactured, all kinds of things like that, whether it's made in a sweatshop. I think she also talks about more than just beauty brands. I think she might also do clothing and things like that, but I did want to give her a shout out because I did take a look at her spreadsheet to kind of get some ideas for what things I wanted to look into, and I also have some of my own here as well. So there are 10 of those different kind of factors that we're going to be looking at, and those are any information I could find about the brand's mica sourcing. Mica can often be sourced using child labor, so I tried to find some information on that, although it is hard to find that information. How environmentally conscious the brand seems to be, any kind of sustainability initiatives they have. Diversity in the workplace, for that I used the really awesome Pull Up for Change Instagram account that was started by Sharon Shooter. She's the owner of Uma Beauty. It's basically where brands can share their diversity numbers. So we're gonna be looking at that for each brand, how inclusive their shade ranges are, how diverse they are with their advertising, who owns the company, is it woman owned, minority owned, where are the products manufactured, whether the brand is fully vegan or transparent about which products are vegan, if they're owned by a non-cruelty-free parent company, any information I could find on how they treat their employees, and any information on charitable giving. So what kinds of charities does the brand donate to, if any? Now, before I get into it, sorry, I feel like there's a lot of background information to talk about before we get into the actual video, but one thing I wanted to say is I do feel like the point of this video might be different from what you think it is. So I've been getting a lot of questions about things like, so what are some problematic brands that you are not going to support now? Or are you going to stop supporting this brand because of this? Or things like that. This video, I absolutely will cancel brands if they've shown time and time again that they are problematic in some way. Let's say their owner is racist, or, you know, they have consistently had terrible non-inclusive shade ranges over the years and haven't done anything to improve on that, things like that. But really the point of this video is more to kind of show that any cruelty-free brand that you dig into far enough, you will find something unethical or problematic about that brand. And every brand is kind of a double-edged sword. So it's really more about trying to just be an aware and conscious consumer and figuring out if I am okay with putting my money towards these brands. Are they showing that they've been improving? Things like that. So this isn't really about problematic brands that I'm not gonna support anymore, but it's more to just kind of keep that conversation going. Everybody's gonna have a different level of comfort with which brands they do wanna support. I really just wanted to educate myself further on the brands that I buy from, and I just decided to start with 5 because it's a lot of information, and any more than that I think would be too much for one video. But if you guys end up liking this video, I would absolutely do more of these in the future. So let's get into it. e.l.f. Okay, so e.l.f. is, if you watch my channel, you know that e.l.f. is like my favorite brand, so I really had to check myself and say, okay, we're gonna have to like remove as much of this bias as we can and, you know, really be critical of this brand. So the first category was mica sourcing / child labor. And for any brands that I couldn't find information on their website on this, which is most of them, I sent them an email basically saying, hey, I love your brand, I love your products. I'm just curious. As I've been learning more about child labor in the beauty industry, I was curious to know your stance on mica sourcing. How do you ensure that the mica you use in your products is not sourced using child labor, is basically what I said. So just a little background on mica for a second here. Mica is one of those things that's in basically every makeup product almost. It is what gives products kind of a shimmery finish. It's in a lot of eyeshadows, a lot of blushes, highlighters, and anything that has shimmer to it probably has mica in it, unless the brand specifically uses like synthetic mica instead. All these brands do use mica in their products. I am going to link below an article from Refinery 29 that was basically an investigation into the mica industry and how it all kind of works. Definitely recommend reading that article if you want to learn more about this, because I found it very helpful and very illuminating. So just a little bit of background from that article though. 60% of the mica found in cosmetics comes from India. 70% of the mica produced in India comes from illegal mines that are not managed well. Many of them are prone to collapsing. People die in these mines all the time and it goes unreported. And there really is no like child labor free official certification like there is Leaping Bunny for cruelty-free cosmetics. That's where it gets really tricky, and I do really hope that as more people start to learn about this issue that something like that will come about, because I think that would be really helpful. Some brands like Lush have completely stopped using mica just to avoid the issue entirely. Lush uses synthetic mica instead, but then there are critics of that who say that leaving the region isn't actually going to help, and for many of these families, most of these families, this is the only way for them to earn any money. It's like the main industry in those regions. So instead of completely pulling out and leaving those families with no way to earn money, it's better for companies to stay there and contribute to the development of these areas and give these families resources so that their kids can go to school, blah, blah, blah. So it really seems like there's no easy answer, but there are some different kind of watchdog groups and organizations that are working to improve things. One of those is a group called the Responsible Mica Initiative, which is advocating for a more ethical and transparent supply chain, and companies can actually join this group and be a part of their work. 3 of the brands that I'm going to talk about today are actually part of the Responsible Mica Initiative, so that is kind of a very brief overview of what is in this article, but like I said, I'm going to leave it linked down below so that you can read it for yourself, because there's a lot of information in there that I did not cover just now. So getting back to e.l.f. So e.l.f. is not a member of the Responsible Mica Initiative. They don't have any information on their website that I could find about child labor, mica sourcing, any of that. So I did send them an email a week and a half ago at this point. Did not hear back from that email. A week later I followed up, still haven't heard back. So as of the time of filming this video, I have no information on that from e.l.f., which is a little bit concerning, but at the same time, I have found e.l.f.'s customer service to be a little bit useless, at least in recent months. Now, I do try to give brands the benefit of the doubt. I mean, you know, we all know the dumpster fire that is 2020. I'm sure brands are slammed, so I'm hoping to hear back from them eventually, but so far, no information. Moving on to their sustainability, I wasn't able to find any sustainability initiatives from them. Most of their packaging is not recyclable, including their skincare packaging, which could easily be recyclable, is packaged in very bulky plastic. It seems like they haven't really made an effort to change that. So those are two things about e.l.f. that I really would like to see some improvement. Another area where I think they could improve is also with their diversity numbers. So all of this information here, like I said, is coming from the Pull Up for Change Instagram that was started by the owner of Uma Beauty. Their leadership team is 14% Black. Their board of directors is 12% Black. Now, I believe in order for those numbers to reflect the breakdown of race in the US, it is around 13 or 14%. So their leadership and board of directors is actually not too bad, but the overall breakdown of their company is 70% woman, which is great, 55% white, 17% Asian, 14% Hispanic or Latino, 7% Black or African American, not great. 7% are 2 or more races, and 1% are American Indian or Alaska Native. So there is definitely room for improvement there, as there is with all of these brands, spoiler alert. Their shade range inclusivity, it's really kind of the same story across all 5 of these brands. There's always room for improvement. So for this, I looked at their foundations, concealers, and powders, any complexion products, to see how evenly distributed is the shade range, how many shades do they offer. So for e.l.f., a lot of their newer complexion products are good. Their Flawless Finish foundation comes in 40 shades. Their camo concealers come in, I think, about 25 shades. And I do want to say I'm definitely not the best person to judge a shade range because I am white. Brands have always kind of catered to people who look like me, so I'm definitely not the best person to be judging these shade ranges, but I'm just doing the best I can here and kind of trying to look at both the number of shades but also how evenly distributed is the shade range. Is it, you know, a brand could have 50 shades where 45 of them are for like light to medium skin tones, you know what I mean? So or is it skewed in one direction, or is it kind of evenly dispersed? So for e.l.f.'s newer complexion products, they do seem pretty good. I feel like with the concealers, there's still room for improvement. But with some of their older products, like their Acne Fighting Foundation, the Acne Fighting Foundation comes in 6 shades and they're all light to medium from what I can tell here. Which my thing is, like, if you can't do it right, just discontinue it. You know what I mean? Like, I get that this product probably came out in like 2012 when nobody was talking about this issue, still doesn't make it okay, but either do it right now or get rid of it entirely. Like, that's my opinion, but so yeah, a lot of their older products are not great. Their serum foundation comes in 5 shades, but it does range from fair to what seems pretty deep, and it is a sheer tint kind of product. Still could be better though. Same with their BB cream. Some of their older concealers, like their HD concealer, comes in 3 shades that are light to medium, really bad. Just, yeah, so their older products are pretty horrible, but they have clearly been making an effort to do better, so good job, I guess. As far as their diversity in advertising, looking at their Instagram, it looks like they do feature models of all different skin tones. Seems pretty diverse to me. The current e.l.f. CEO is a male, but I believe he is Indian. The founders are 2 men as well. I'm not sure how involved they are with the company now, but their names are Joseph Shamma and Scott Vincent Borba. So a lot of male representation in the highest positions. As far as where the products are manufactured, they say that they are designed in the US but mainly manufactured overseas. When I looked at the products that I own from e.l.f., many of them said made in China, so I honestly don't really know what to think about that. I'm not very educated on manufacturing practices in different countries, so I'm not the best person to speak on that, but if that is something you're interested in, that's that, and they are 100% vegan. All their products are vegan, so there's no animal products used in any of their products, which I think is amazing that there's such an affordable brand that is doing that. As far as employee treatment, what I did for this category was I went on Glassdoor, which is a place where employees can anonymously review their experience that they've had at that company. e.l.f. has 57 employee reviews on Glassdoor, and they have a 4.7 out of 5 star rating, which is actually the best out of all of the brands on this list. Some of the pros that were mentioned were that they get a 20% employee discount. They said it's a lovely company, great environment, talented individuals, very inspiring to work with. Everybody is friendly, you get a lot of good hands-on experience, good team building, so lots of pros. Some of the cons were, it seemed like a lot of the cons were coming from people who worked at the actual in-person flagship stores or like the retail locations, but they said they had no real training on their first day. They were just kind of thrown to the wolves. Some people complained that there was no work-life balance, and some people did say that there were unprofessional managers and a lot of drama coming from management. So keep in mind they did get 4.7 out of 5 stars, which is really good on Glassdoor. So of course there were still complaints though, and those were what some of those complaints were. They also seem to be a brand that gives back a lot to different charities. Back when a lot of the protests were happening back in June, they donated to Color of Change, Black Lives Matter, American Civil Liberties Union, the NAACP, Campaign Zero, and Minnesota Freedom Fund. And then outside of Black Lives Matter, they've also donated to Angel City Pits, which is a pit bull rescue that was part of their collab with Jay Kissa, the Alameda County Food Bank, New York Common Pantry, Feeding America, No Kid Hungry, Bethany's Global Empowerment Mission, and National Alliance on Mental Illness. They also have an e.l.f. Cares page on their website where they talk about a lot of their different philanthropic efforts. They're also involved with Pride 2020. They said they partnered with the It Gets Better Project, which is an LGBTQ plus organization. But I thought it was interesting they didn't mention donating, they just mentioned that they were sharing stories of LGBTQ plus individuals, so, you know, cool, I guess. One thing I thought was really interesting in an article I read where they interviewed the founders, I think, they said that when they founded e.l.f., they sought to emulate fast fashion brands who were able to, you know, stay on top of trends and release a lot of products quickly, but that they also, unlike fast fashion brands, they wanted to have really high quality products at a really low price tag. So I did think that was interesting. Kind of reminds me of some things I've also heard about ColourPop. One thing they said was, we can develop a concept and can bring a product to market in as fast as 20 weeks, which I think is relatively fast. So yeah, interesting little side note there. So NYX and Urban Decay are two of the brands that I also want to talk about in this video, and both of those brands are actually owned by the same parent company, which is L'Oreal. So there are some similarities. So I'm going to kind of talk about NYX and Urban Decay together for some of these things. As far as their mica sourcing and any information about child labor, L'Oreal, their parent company, is a member of the Responsible Mica Initiative. In that Refinery 29 article that I will link, L'Oreal said that they are committed to the continued sourcing of natural mica from India in order to allow already impoverished communities to keep generating income. To do so, L'Oreal ensures traceability and transparency of its whole supply chain to guarantee fair and responsible mica. The brand says it only buys from suppliers who source from independently verified gated mines where children are not present, which is good. But I did also read that it's possible for mica to actually be sourced from those illegal mines and exporting using the licenses of legal mines in different regions. So it could be, like, that could all be untrue, basically. Yet again, it's just a very, very confusing, messy issue, and I really do hope that it becomes easier in the future to really know for sure if brands are child labor free, but it sounds like they are at least trying to do some good. So I wasn't able to find any sustainability initiatives from NYX or Urban Decay. Doesn't mean there aren't any, I just wasn't able to find any from my search. L'Oreal did give their Pull Up for Change stats on behalf of all of the companies that they own, so I wasn't able to find statistics on the individual brands, NYX and Urban Decay, but L'Oreal says that 38% of their total workforce is people of color, 9% of their total workforce is black. Corporate is 37% people of color, 7% black. Executive leadership is 24% people of color and 8% black. I wish they would give a little bit more of a breakdown here, but in any event, they have some work to do. NYX's shade range, pretty good. I feel like NYX has been doing a pretty good job with their shade ranges, especially over the past couple of years. Their Can't Stop, Won't Stop foundation, that seemed to be honestly one of the first drugstore shade ranges that I can remember that really seemed to put a lot of effort into the inclusivity of the shade range. Their new Can't Stop, Won't Stop powder foundation also seems to be pretty well balanced. Some of their older complexion products though, like all of these brands, were bad. Their Stay Matte But Not Flat powder foundation, do you guys remember that? That was like all over YouTube in like 2013. 5 shades, all light shades. Like, horrible. Now, it does look like they're discontinuing this, which I think is a good thing if they're not going to expand it. But, so I'm not sure if those 5 shades that I'm seeing on there are the only ones, but I think they are, because I remember looking at this in the past and it was just as bad, so. Born to Glow foundation is also pretty good. That's actually one of my favorite foundations. They're, like with many of these brands, they're sheer products. They're more light coverage products, definitely don't have as wide of a shade range. But with their Bear With Me Tinted Skin Veil, it does look, again, pretty well distributed. But their older BB cream, 3 light shades. Like, horrific. Their Can't Stop, Won't Stop concealer, pretty good. Their Born to Glow concealer, pretty good. Feel like they could have some more deeper shades though. And their HD concealer, that's one of their older products. Not great, but not terrible either. So once again, they still have work to do, but I do see that in their newer launches, they're doing better and better. Diversity in advertising for NYX, their Instagram and their website look like they represent a lot of different people of different skin tones. The swatches on their website are also shown on a variety of different skin tones for any given product. You'll usually see swatches on deeper skin tones and lighter skin tones for pretty much every product on their website, at least that I saw, so I do appreciate that. As far as who owns the brand, it's owned by L'Oreal, so it's hard to tell if NYX or Urban Decay really has a CEO that's super involved, but it was founded by a Korean-American woman, Toni Ko, but she sold the company to L'Oreal several years ago, so I'm not sure how involved she still is. But most of the products from NYX are made in China, South Korea, and Taiwan. Like I said, it is owned by L'Oreal, which is not a cruelty-free brand. They do have a list of vegan-friendly products on their website, and products that are vegan are clearly labeled on their website, but they definitely are not a 100% vegan brand, but they are vegan friendly. Employee treatment. So NYX got 3.4 out of 5 stars on Glassdoor with 102 reviews. By the way, all of this information is in a spreadsheet that I will link down below in case you want to look at it and kind of follow along, because I know it's a lot of information. The pros that were on NYX's page were they have a good employee discount, full-time employees get great benefits, people said it was a fun place to work, flexible hours, etc. So those are some of the pros, and then some of the cons. Again, not much of a good work-life balance, lots to do but a bit unorganized and no room to grow. The hourly pay was not good, so kind of a mixed bag there. 3.4 out of 5 stars, not the best, but it actually is the second best on this list. Charitable giving, they donated to the Minnesota Freedom Fund and Black Lives Matter. They also say that they are proud LGBTQ allies and have donated $30,000 to the LA LGBT Center. So Urban Decay, once again, owned by L'Oreal. We already covered the mica sourcing there. Not a whole lot of sustainability stuff going on. We already covered their diversity in the workplace. Shade ranges are kind of similar to NYX, good, but of course there's still room for improvement. Their new Stay Naked foundation and concealer have the best shade range so far, at least from what I can see. The All Nighter foundation and concealer, which released a few years back, it's a decent shade range, but it does seem to skew a little bit more towards lighter and medium skin tones, so still room for improvement, of course, as as always. Diversity in their advertising, their Instagram, and their website seem fairly diverse. Swatches on the website are shown on a variety of skin tones, again similar to NYX. Who owns Urban Decay? So their co-founders seem to be a mix of men and women. L'Oreal USA's CEO is a white man named Frederick Rose, I think is his name, and the CEO of L'Oreal Group, which is the international L'Oreal, is Jean-Paul Agon, which is another white European dude. Seems like most Urban Decay products are made in Germany and the US. Some of them are also assembled in the Dominican Republic. I know also the brush in my Naked Honey palette appears to be made in China, so it seems like they're kind of made in all sorts of different places. Pretty much the same as NYX as far as their vegan products. Vegan products are clearly labeled on the product pages on their website. Urban Decay also says we are committed to making as many vegan products as possible. So maybe one day they will be entirely vegan. Who knows? Sounds like they may be headed in that direction. Urban Decay's employee treatment according to Glassdoor. 228 reviews, 2.6 out of 5 stars. So it's getting worse and worse the farther down this list we go. Some of the cons they mentioned were micromanaging from upper management, no work-life balance, numbers are the most important thing to them, and they'd rather pay, this one made me cringe real hard, they'd rather pay for beauty bloggers to go on trips to Miami than give you a holiday bonus. They did donate to the Minnesota Freedom Fund and Black Lives Matter, same as NYX. Urban Decay has always stood for the empowerment of women, they say, from the products we create to the causes we support. When we launched in 1996, blah, 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 blah. Urban Decay recently announced the launch of the Ultraviolet Edge, which is our global initiative to empower women by supporting organizations that fight for women everywhere. We encourage all women to embrace their individuality, blah, blah, blah. Not a whole lot of specifics on what that actually means, which organizations are they donating to, what are they doing, like, I don't know, but I guess that's cool. And then they also donated proceeds from one of their Vice lipsticks to the Women's Global Empowerment Fund. So I am also linking on this spreadsheet L'Oreal's corporate and social responsibility page, where they have information on various aspects of their corporate responsibility. So feel free to check that out as well. So moving on to ColourPop. ColourPop, I feel like, is a big one that people talk about a lot as far as, you know, how ethical are they really? They're kind of known as the fast fashion of makeup, but I do feel like a lot of these brands do kind of follow that fast fashion model. ColourPop was kind of just like the first one to do it. But really, e.l.f. might have also been, I'm not sure. So ColourPop, I emailed them asking about their mica sourcing, didn't get a response. Really didn't find a whole lot on sustainability initiatives. One thing that people talk about a lot is the fact that they use pressed glitter eyeshadows all the time. A lot of their palettes have at least one pressed glitter in them. Not only are those not technically eye safe, they literally have to put a note on the palette that says not intended for use around the eyes for that shade. But they are also formulated using microplastics, and it seems like they haven't addressed that, even though people have been asking them. Are you gonna move towards a more sustainable, biodegradable option? Like, what's the deal here? Now, another issue that I feel like doesn't get as much attention as the microplastics is just the amount of plastic packaging generated by the makeup industry. I'm not really sure which is worse. Like, which is worse, microplastics or just using a crap ton of plastic for every package of product? So I'm not really sure, but I definitely think it's a problem. The reason why is because those microplastics are inevitably washed down the drain unless you're removing them with tape, which even then you can't really remove all of it with tape, and I doubt most people are doing that. They're getting washed down the drain, it eventually is going to end up in the water supply. Same kind of thing with those little plastic micro beads that they used to put in face scrubs. Those were banned because they would end up in the water supply and fish would eat them, and it was bad. So kind of the same thing, I think, but continues to go unaddressed, at least by ColourPop. They, again, are kind of seen as like the fast fashion of makeup, and they release new products seemingly every week, which could lead to consumers making less well thought out purchases, more kind of mindless purchases, especially because they're inexpensive and so just isn't the best for the environment. Diversity in the workplace, according to Pull Up for Change, they reported that their workplace is 80% Latino, 7% Asian, 7% white, which is surprisingly low, 3% black, 78% female. They do say that they are committed to increasing representation, so let's hold them to that. Shade ranges, they definitely have been making an effort with their shade ranges. Their newest foundation, which is the Pretty Fresh foundation, comes in 42 shades, and I really like that on their website they have a different model for every single shade. So that's, I think, really a great step in the right direction. Their Pretty Fresh Tinted Moisturizer only has 24 shades, but that is again kind of a sheer coverage product, so brands tend to think they can get away with a smaller shade range for those. I still think it can be improved, but it looks like they're making a pretty good effort to provide a well-balanced shade range. I did notice the concealers do seem to be skewed a little bit towards the light side. Their Instagram also is fairly diverse. All these brands do seem to be doing a pretty good job with their Instagram, featuring models of all different skin tones. ColourPop, I feel like ColourPop is sort of known as an indie brand, or at least they were, but I'm not really sure. How do you define an indie brand? They are owned by the parent company Seed Beauty, which is owned by Laura and John Nelson, which is a brother and sister team. I think ColourPop was the first brand of Seed Beauty, but Seed Beauty now also owns Kylie Cosmetics and KKW. They also have their new 4th Ray Beauty skincare line, so there are a few brands in the Seed Beauty umbrella. All the products seem to be made in California, so that's pretty cool. They don't seem to be outsourcing to other countries for manufacturing, at least as of now. They do have many vegan options, and they have a list of their non-vegan items on their FAQ page, and also all their vegan items are clearly labeled on the website. So all these brands so far are making it really easy to shop for vegan cosmetics if you choose to. Employee treatment is also pretty much just as bad as Urban Decay according to Glassdoor, but there are only 8 reviews on Glassdoor, so keep that in mind. Urban Decay had 228 reviews, so maybe not the best sample size here, but ColourPop also gets 2.6 out of 5 stars. Pros were that people of all ages work there, there's no age discrimination, someone said. Supervisors are kind and understanding, it's very fast paced, and this one made me laugh. Somebody said they have good snacks, so nice job, ColourPop. Cons. There were a lot of cons. The interns felt like there were no mentors for them, they felt like they weren't valued. Overall, management seemed to be very disorganized, the pay wasn't very good, at least for some of the people. They got kind of unprofessional Mean Girls vibes from a lot of the team. This is a quote from one person's review, "Everyone in leadership are all white women that do not know how to train and mentor people that come from a different unprivileged background." Hardly any people of color on the team, they said. I'm not sure how old some of these reviews are, but they felt they were overworked and that it was a toxic environment with a lack of communication and a lot of gossip. So, doesn't sound like a team that I would want to be on, but keep in mind that there were only 8 reviews on there, so. Also, the sun just got really bright. They donated $25,000 to the Minnesota Freedom Fund, $25,000 to ACLU, pledged an additional $250,000 in support of Black communities through other orgs. I don't think they specified which ones those were. They have also in the past, I found that they partnered with Make-A-Wish Foundation, Best Friends Animal Society, and No Kill Los Angeles, which is another animal rescue group, I believe. So, wow, this is gonna be a long video. I just restarted my camera for the 3rd time, which means I've been talking for over an hour now. But we are on the last brand that I'm gonna cover at least today, and that is CoverGirl. So CoverGirl is another very well-known brand. They recently became cruelty-free certified by Leaping Bunny, which is fantastic. I was so happy that they made that change. They used to be owned, I don't know if everyone knows this, but they used to be owned by Procter & Gamble, but now they are owned by Coty. And it seems like with that change of ownership, they were able to become cruelty-free, to put it very simply. Once again, their parent company, Coty, is a member of the Responsible Mica initiative. Take that for what you will. The parent company does seem to have a little bit of a sustainability focus. I will link their page on sustainability below. Sometimes it just kind of seems like lip service with these things, but these are large corporations after all. As part of the UN Global Impact thing, they released basically like a progress report on their corporate responsibility, which covered a lot of things from human rights, labor, environment, all kinds of things like that. So it seems like that's going okay, but I do feel like they could, like, at least with CoverGirl's products, most of them I don't think the packaging is recyclable, but the same is true for a lot of makeup packaging. I did recently do a video on how to recycle makeup packaging, which really recycling isn't the answer, but if you already own things and you're using them up, it's good to at least recycle them when you're done with them. So I will link that video below as well. Once again, I think Coty released their diversity numbers to pull up for change on behalf of the companies that they own. So Coty said that they're 17% Black, which is pretty good, 12.5% Hispanic, 8.6% Asian, 1.6% mixed race, 0.4% American Indian and Pacific Islander, and 60% Caucasian, 2.9% at the director level and above are Black. So still pretty bad Black representation in higher level positions. CoverGirl, I feel, of these 5 brands has the worst shade ranges, just because they have so many different foundations that have been around for eternity. Like, they still sell some of their ancient, like, clean foundations that are in the triangle bottle, and they have not improved those shade ranges at all since like probably 1993, so when they came out. So, you know, it's not great, but their newer products, you can tell they're making an effort. The best shade range of theirs so far is the True Blend Matte Foundation with 40 shades. That released a couple years ago, and they like really marketed that, like, hey, we're finally being inclusive, look at us. So there's that. Their True Blend concealer also comes in 30 shades. Their newer Skin Milk, which is a light coverage product, only comes in 14 shades. And some of the older foundations only come in light and medium shades, which is awful. So again, I feel like they either need to fix those shade ranges or discontinue it altogether. Because who's really buying those ancient foundations anyway? Their Instagram page is fairly diverse. They have a CoverGirls section on their website with like 5 or 6 different, I guess, representatives of the brand, and they're either almost all or all white. So that's not too great, but it does seem like they do have a decent amount of diversity with some of the models on their website, but I felt like of all 5 of these brands, they are lagging behind the most in this area. The CEO of Coty is Pierre Denis, a man, I presume. The products are made in the US and Germany mostly, from what I found. They are not 100% vegan once again, but it does seem that they label all of the vegan products on their website. The employee treatment, okay, so this was tricky. On Glassdoor, there were only 2 reviews for CoverGirl, so I'm not really sure. They only got 1 out of 5 stars, but only 2 reviews, so I don't really know what to think about that. 2 of the pros were that they were paid weekly, nice, and they got lots of gratis, lots of free stuff, so that's exciting. Cons, barely any hour. It seemed like these reviews were also from people who worked in their retail locations, maybe not so much their like headquarters or something. They said they got barely any hours, but still sometimes were working like 5 days in a row, even though they were only working like 20 hours a week or something. A lot of favoritism from management, gossipy, toxic work environment, and a high turnover. So yeah, those 2 reviews were not exactly glowing reviews. Also, with their charitable giving, they donated to the NAACP, the Equal Justice Initiative, and Black Lives Matter. For Pride Month, they donated to GLAAD, G-L-A-A-D. Yeah, so CoverGirl, glad to see that they're not testing on animals anymore, but there are a lot of other areas where I think they could do a little bit better. So that is 5 well-known cruelty-free brands, kind of digging in a little bit further to how ethical they really are. I do really want to stress that I don't really know a whole lot. Like, I'm not super educated on any of these things other than like the cruelty-free animal testing side of things. So this is just information that I, as a average person, was able to find by searching on the internet. So I'm certainly not an expert. I'm sure there's a lot of information that I missed. So if you guys respond well to this video, I'm happy to do more videos like this. So let me know if there are any other brands you would like me to talk about in the future, any other things that you think will be important to look at to determine how ethical they are. I'm really looking forward to reading your comments. Like I said, I've never done a video like this before, so I'm really curious to see how this goes over, but I'm really excited to chat with you guys in the comments and keep this conversation going. But I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. I'd love to see you again soon, and hopefully I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye.